I'd like to officially call this meeting to order. Today it is Tuesday, September 28th, and welcome to the Akron Rotary Club. This is our second in-person meeting, and I apologize to all of you who are on Zoom, but some of the challenges have been very, very real. This is not, okay, so we're not, okay. I apologize to all of you who are on Zoom, but Cheryl and Terry and Brian have been working extra hard to get some of our kinks ironed out. So at this time, I would like to call Connor Jarvis up to lead us in our invocation.
And it's come to my attention that I am one of those kinks, so I promise this will be the briefest invocation that you will ever have for me. It comes from the Rotary International website, thanks to David Hall. Fellow Rotarians, just if you bow your heads with me, Lord, we just thank you for this chance to be together with these business friends and associates. Bless our time and fellowship together. Amen. What I tell you, didn't think it could be done by Connor Jarvis. There you go.
Wow. The new and kind of improved. Okay, at this time, I'd like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and if you would join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now for the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. Just a few brief comments. Boy, COVID is hanging on and been a little bit, excuse me while I fix this camera. COVID has been a little persnickety and hanging on. And so thank you to all of you brave souls who made it out today. And thank you to all of you who are joining in on Zoom. Just one little note to pass on. We did have to cancel our project this last Saturday because the weather was playing tricks on us. And all through the week, I had been in contact with Tina Boys about whether or not we were going to be able to paint. And each day, all the way up until Friday, the weather report was for rain. But if you've lived in Northeast Ohio long enough, you know that things can change on a dime. And so Saturday was beautiful. All those dear folk running in the marathon enjoyed that. And there was little to nothing as far as any rain. But we're going to get that back going on October 23rd. So at this time, I'd like to have our greeter share with us. And David, are you handling that?
Yeah, my mouth is full of food.
I will give. We have no guests today. Do we have anybody that's visiting on Zoom?
Yes, we do. We have Sharon Murray from Cleveland Club. She's at the bottom with the Rotary logo.
Hello, Sharon. And if you'd like to say a brief hello, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm attending your meeting and it's my first one, so thank you.
Well, it's great to have you. Thank you. All right, do we happen to have any Rotary ambassadors over this last week? You see anybody on the screen there, Miss?
Yes, I attended Newark, Ohio last week.
Which club?
Newark, Ohio.
Okay, Mike Shearer in Newark, Ohio last week. Wasn't that your home club at one point? Okay, so good for you. Mela.
We had a Rotarian from Coronado, California, who is from the area, Yorksville, and she attended her home club meeting, her original home club meeting, learned about the Rotary Club because she asked about special needs, and they said, you got to go visit Rotary Camp for Children with Special Needs. So she showed up yesterday, had a beautiful tour of camp, was so excited, was disappointed that she couldn't come today because she was boarding the plane. but she has a flag here to present to our president from their club. So she was very excited.
Well, thank you. This is beautiful. All right, at this time, I'm going to invite Morgan Goldthwait, and she's going to share with us a little bit about a moment in our history. Morgan?
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, good. Hello, everyone. So, Rotary 1918 to 1920. Theodore Eugene Smith was president for 2 consecutive years. He was listed in 1918 as the proprietor and publisher in the India Rubber Review magazine for manufacturers and users of rubber. He reported that in 1917 that 4 million tires were used. The current forecast is for 2,470 million tires by 2025. I'd say that's a little bit of growth. From 1919 to 1920, Rotary International president was Albert Adams from Atlanta, Georgia. The convention was 1920 in June, Atlantic City, New Jersey. Registration was 7,213 people. The highlights were the end of World War I, expansion of Rotary with formation of clubs in Buenos Aires, Shanghai, Calcutta, and Panama City. So this is for Akron in 1918 to 1920. The Spanish influenza sickened more than 7,000 people in Akron, claiming at least 630 lives in 1918 and 1919. In comparison, the number of Akron men lost in World War I was 304, and many of them died from the flu. Hospitals were overwhelmed with wheezing patients. The Akron Armory was converted into a ward. Funeral homes could not keep up with demand as 200 died in the first month. Well, that's a little grim. So let's move on. Let's do some fun topics. World news, 1918 to 1920. God Bless America was written by Irving Berlin in 1918. The life expectancy for men was 36 years, and the life expectancy for women was 42 years. Thank God that's changed. 1919, Woodrow Wilson wins the Nobel Peace Prize. Albert Einstein got married, and Babe Ruth was sold to the New York Yankees. 1920, women gained the right to vote, and a man named Charles Ponzi came up with a sales scheme. 1918, a peace treaty is signed between Soviet Russia and the Central Powers, Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Turkey. At Brest-Litovsk, the treaty marked Russia's final withdrawal from World War I. The humiliating terms of the treaty effectively mean Russia surrendered 1/3 of their population, half of their industry, and 90% of their coal mines. Russia also ceded lands, including Poland, Ukraine, and Finland. With the war now over, the Allies squabbled as to terms of the Treaty of Versailles. Germany was plagued by chaos and violence as communists attempt to seize power. Post-war, exactly 5 years after the assassination of Austrian Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the Treaty of Versailles was signed between the Allies and Germany at Versailles, officially ending the Great War. Many people in France and Britain are appalled that there was to be no trial for the German Kaiser or the other war leaders of the Central Powers. And Steve, that is your Rotary history and news from 1918 to 1920.
Thank you, Morgan. Much appreciated. And it's amazing if you think back that we're looking at World War I having ended just about a little less than 100 years ago. And you know, they say that hindsight is 20/20. Well, if you take a look at how the Allied powers handled the Treaty of Versailles and the extreme pressures that were applied to Germany, then there's a little bit of greater understanding why a certain Adolf Hitler came to power not too many years later. And thus we saw the bloodiest century in human history, which was the 20th century. But hopefully we have turned a corner, and that here in this 21st century, that it's going to be a whole different ballgame. At this time, I'd like to have David Miller come up and share with us. He's got a few things to communicate about what's happening in and around Akron and what's going on with the club.
Thanks, Steve. Let's see if I need to adjust this because Steve's taller than me. So I'm here to talk about what's happening around Akron. There's a couple things coming up. First of all, for those of you that have hopefully seen the email, we have our first Akron Rotary After Hours coming up September 30th at 6 p.m. So mark your calendars now at 6 p.m. All are welcome to attend the next Rotary social event at the Cigar Lodge. We're going to have a great selection of cigars, bourbon and whiskey. They're known for this in the Akron area. There's plenty of room for those that want to sit outside. There's also indoors if the weather takes a little bit of a turn. But the night is truly about fellowship. So whether you're a libation lover, if you're a cigar lover, if you just want to sit down next to somebody and talk, that's what the night's going to be about. It's located at 2989 South Main Street in Akron. And the website is www.thecigarlodge.com if you want more information. So no reservations required, and it's everybody's on their own dime if you choose to take part. And then we also have some other events coming up, excuse me. So on Saturday, October 9th, from 6 to 8 at Messiah Lutheran Church, it's the annual spaghetti dinner in memory of Dick Farkas, benefiting the Akron Rotary Camp. That's located at 4700 South Main Street in Akron. Please join us for delicious Italian cuisine to help send the kids to camp. Dinner tickets are $10 a person. This includes salad, spaghetti, with or without meatballs, homemade bread, beverages, and dessert. You can also purchase dinners to go if you can't make the event. And this is also going to feature a dessert auction. If that's anything like any I've ever been to, people probably will get hurt running to a table, but they're always fun. So you can purchase tickets by calling Messiah Lutheran Church at 330-644-5766, or you can email office@messiahlutheran.cc. And then August 28th, it's been running through October 29th for the Akron Women's City Club, presented by fellow Rotarian Geraldine Kiefer. Residencies, Reflections, and Rememberings. It's a retrospective exhibition of landscapes and maps dedicated to Bruce W. Kiefer. The gallery hours are from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. This is Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And then given by Virginia Wono on October 16th from 5 to 7 p.m. There's going to be a reception. So the drawings comprise imaginative places inspired by both historical reproductions, exploratory skeletons, Chinese brush paintings, historical maps, and by Dr. Kiefer's process of making, which includes soaking watercolor papers in coffee-based solutions, then drawing and/or collaging all over them. The colored pencil overlaid photographs were taken both by Dr. Kiefer and her late husband, Bruce Kiefer, architect and master art photographer. And then because Steve gave me 5 seconds, I'm also going to do a shameless plug. For those of you that don't know, I also sit on the Stillman Falls Community Foundation, supporter of the camp year over year with the Chili Open. But we have our annual beer fest coming up on October 2nd at Stowe Heritage Barn. Tickets are available at smfcommunity.org, but we are also looking for volunteers. If you've ever attended a beer fest, the breweries themselves are not allowed to pour the beverages, so we need individuals to come pour. So if you're looking for something to do in the afternoon and you want to take part, there may or may not be some drinks for the volunteers as well. So that's it. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, David. Here's just what your ticket would look like if you decide to attend the Messiah Lutheran Spaghetti Fest, is what I'm going to call it. My family had the privilege of going a couple years ago, and we're a little picky when it comes to Italian food, with my wife hailing from New Haven, Connecticut, which is the most Italian city in the United States. And I will tell you that that spaghetti sauce was off the hook. It's really, really that good. And so $10 a person is a deal. And Linda Farkas informed me that if you want to pick it up and take it out, you can do that as well. So don't miss out on this. It's really worth it. Anybody happy today? We'll start here with people present. Anybody happy? Any happy dollars? Oh, come on. Well, I happen to have I happen to have some happy dollars from last week, which was a very, very busy week, from Jack Herrick. I have 7 happy dollars on behalf of John Daly. And many of you know that I had shared last week that John had a fall a couple of weeks ago and actually had lain on his kitchen floor or basement floor for almost 2 days before Jack was able to get in and find him and help him. And he got in as a result of a neighbor having a key. John was able to get to the hospital to recover, to get rehydrated, and is doing well. But all right. Anything to say there, Mr. John Daly? Would you like to say hello today? Well, he's muted, but that's okay. But I'm glad to have you back, John, and glad that your son could make it out to visit with you and with Jack and everyone. So wishing you a good, healthy fall and winter season. David Hall.
I have 2 happy dollars. Number one, just an update. Of course, my grandfather here, my daughter's still doing well down at Flagler. They're still #1, and they're still unbeaten this year. So happy for her. Number $2, I want to thank Ryan, and I want to thank Ryan and Connor for helping me break down today. I had to leave the meeting a little early, so they're going to help me out here, and appreciate them always stepping up and helping out. So thank you.
Thank you, David. All right. David Miller.
So earlier I said it was a shameless plug, but I had $1 for that shameless plug I gave. And then the other $1 is just proud dad moment. My Dr. Rob will appreciate this, I think, maybe the most. My son turned 12 on Friday, and the first thing he said is, "Can you pull me from school? I want to get my COVID vaccine." So we pulled him from school on Monday, and he got his first shot. So he was very, very happy about it. He knows the importance of it. So just proud of him.
Thank you. Miss Linda Farkas.
Oh, good. I've got 2 happy dollars. One for John Daly. He is recovering. I had breakfast with Jack Herrick yesterday, and it would behoove us as fellow Rotarians to take time to send a card to John. He's doing better, but it's a long haul. So the time on the floor was not good. So please keep him in your prayers and send him a card. I know it would be greatly appreciated. I did so yesterday. And the other is about the spaghetti dinner. Just so you know, this is a little plug. Nella has tickets with her. We'll do cash or check. Sorry, no credit cards. But also 100% of all the money that is given that night is donated to the camp. 100%. All the food, all the supplies and everything is donated. So our gift as Rotarians for the spaghetti dinner is then in turn given 100% to the camp. And last year, of course, with COVID, there was no spaghetti dinner, but the church took upon itself to donate $1,500 to the camp. So please consider, as our wonderful president said, they have carryout. So if you can't make it, we're trying to do everything possible to make it available to everyone. So thank you so much. Mela, did you want to?
It's a great event.
Oh, well. I was just saying, it's a wonderful event in memory of Dick Farkas as a member of that church. So it's great to keep his legacy going.
Connor. Yeah, hi. Notre Dame is winning. The Browns are winning. John Daly is doing better. And I finally got to see my grandchildren in Canada last month. And it's very difficult getting up there, even though supposedly the border is open. If you want to know how to do it, you can get on the internet or talk to me. But we made it. Thank you. Leanne?
So I have a couple of happy bucks. For those of you who don't know, last year my dad got COVID in Florida. He survived at Concordia and Sumner. He got rehab for 6 months and he just discharged and went home. So it's very exciting in room 223, which is where I believe Mr. Daly is. So he's in an awesome place, and they can certainly are gonna, if anybody can do it, they can. But anyways, just happy to be here and happy to have my dad. Thanks.
John Margito. Here's 20 happy dollars because I haven't done happy dollars in a year and a half, so I'll make up for it somehow. But you know, it is really great to be back in the meeting again after almost a year and a half, or it was a year and a half. I cannot believe that. But it's really great to be here, and it's nice to have a place to go to Tuesday at lunch again. So, but anyway, you know, in the last year, and I won't give you the whole rundown, but you know, it's just been, and you know, through everything going on, both my oldest sons got married, you know, Joe went to college, the house is quiet, the dog's looking at us weird. You know, it's been wonderful empty nesting. We just went down to Danville, Kentucky to see my brother Anthony, who moved down there. He's down at Center College now, doing great. And we went down to the Nashville area where my second son John is, and we went to the Titans game. We had a great weekend. We have more weekends like that to come. It's definitely been a turn the page kind of year for us. And you know, the kids are gone and things like that. A little bit of melancholy. It's been weird, and you know, Dad died about a year ago, et cetera, et cetera. But it's just been really weird. But you know what? Great memories are coming. It's just the next page, and you keep going. And God bless John Daly. I wish I was a little more like him. Trust me, man. He is a awesome dude. He's a stand-up guy, and the club is blessed to have him. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Anybody else?
I'll do 5 happy dollars for my first Rotary meeting in person ever. So, but great to be with you all after joining during COVID and being able to get out. So, thank you all.
Thank you, Steve. Anybody else?
Well, thank you, everybody.
Anybody online like to do happy dollars? Terry, do you see anybody?
Okay, well, while you're looking, I do have 5 happy dollars. A couple of them are for some special people here today. Cheryl Warren has been working and working and working to perfect our dual system of being virtual and being in person. And so I just want to acknowledge her. David Hall has done a phenomenal job of doing everything with the setup. Brian Casarco in helping us get the technology going. And then also too, I wanted to have a couple happy dollars for Jenny Wino, who is going to be turning 92 in early October, and her daughter, Jerry Kiefer, and David was mentioning about her art show. But Jerry had my wife and I over with Jenny and then Frank Harvey for dinner a couple of weeks ago. And let me tell you, Jenny Wino can cook. Even though her daughter hosted, Jenny cooked up a fabulous dinner. And so I just want to say thank you to them. But we have a great club, and just glad to have everybody back. Today is a very, very special day because we're honored to have as our guest speaker Coach Dru Joyce from St. Mary. And I think you're really going to enjoy just hearing him share with us. He graduated the same year I graduated, 1973. And he was in sales for a number of years before he really got involved with becoming a coach. And he started as assistant with Keith Dambrod at St. Mary. And then some 20 plus years later, he is still there. But all of that to say this, If you've been in Akron and you know a little bit about St. V, St. Mary basketball, then you know that so much of those accolades go to Coach Dru. And he's going to be sharing with us about leadership, about raising up young men. But I like what he shared in his bio. And here's what I want to give to you. He said, "Coaching to me is a sacred responsibility. I get to pour my life into the lives of boys at a very impactful age. I'm very thankful for all the support I've been given from my players, families, and the St. V family." So please join me in welcoming Coach Dru Joyce as our speaker today.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you for asking me to share. Let me apologize for doing this via Zoom. I have in the last couple of years taking over a new responsibility here at the school. I am the director of facilities, along with being the basketball coach. And this year, we are doing a number of projects in the building with outside vendors or outside companies who are doing some renovations in the building. So it's kind of my job to kind of watch over all those gentlemen and what they're doing as the school day is happening at the same time. So please forgive me for doing this via Zoom, and try not to look past me into my cluttered office. But as you can see, it's basketball, very much basketball related. So beyond that, I think honestly, my story is a very relatable story. I think that's what honestly is most inspiring about it, because my story is very much like all of your stories. I'm not that guy who is in that significant, maybe 1% of what I would say are famous or extremely talented individuals. I'm like the rest of us, that 99.5% of all of us who have a passion for what they do and have been blessed to do it maybe at a high level. I come from some very, very humble beginnings in a little small town of East Liverpool, Ohio. And I tell people all the time that I didn't really understand how poor we were until I applied to go to college. And I had to actually see my parents' financial statement because there was just a lot of love in my household. It was, I come from a kind of generational family atmosphere that I'm sure some of you may, who are of our age, might understand. In our household was my grandmother and my great uncle, and then my mother and father and a foster child. So, it was, but there was just a lot of love in the household. And, I'm thankful for it these days now, as I look back and I recognize where I am today and what I've been able to do today really started with that foundation in those humble beginnings in East Liverpool, Ohio. The other great thing about East Liverpool, which I didn't recognize until I went to college, is a lot of, I dealt with some things, trying to fit in, when you leave a small town and you go to college and, you're around people from the larger cities, you want to be accepted. So you kind of do some things maybe that you hopefully, well, unfortunately, let me say this, I didn't know better, but just trying to fit in. But anyway, the one thing that I was so happy about is that there were a lot of kids that came from some inner city schools that never even had taken a final in a class, you know, so they were really struggling in college. And the great thing about coming from the small town that I come from is everybody went to the same school, whether you were very wealthy or very poor, you know, you got the same opportunity to succeed in education. And you know, I wasn't the best student, but I'm a very competitive guy. I wasn't going to be that one whose grades you would have to hide or shield. You know, I tried very much to be in a better position than that. So, but that was my beginning. And, you know, I went on to college. I am the first person in my family to graduate from college. And those college years are now a blur for me. But I tell people all the time, I got the two most important things that I needed in college. And that first and foremost was the recognition of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And then second, right so close, is my wife of now 43 years, who has been my biggest supporter, my toughest critic, and the love of my life. So those college years, you know, I got what was most important out of it. If you ask me how much I learned in class, you know, that would take a backseat to all of to those two important moments, and those moments have been substantial in helping me to grow into the man that I've become. You know, as we have 4 children. It's kind of funny. Most people, because of the basketball and my son Drew, and then my younger son Cameron's success, everyone thinks that, well, we just have 2 boys. But honestly, we have 2 daughters older than them who are, you know, accomplished in their own rights. And I just want to give a shout out to my 4 children, Ursula, who is our oldest daughter, who is now working on her doctorate degree. And she and her husband have 2 beautiful grandsons of ours. One is in his junior year in college, and the other is in his first freshman year of high school. And they live in Detroit. And my second daughter lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, and she and her husband, they have 2 grandchildren, a grandson and a granddaughter. And she is a coach. You know, it's kind of funny that, you know, my oldest daughter, she's a life coach. She has a business where she helps people, and she's a counselor, and she's working on her doctorate degree, as I was saying. But my second daughter coaches teachers on the best way to becoming better teachers. And it was funny in the interview, she was sharing with me when she was about to take this job. She used me as an example of what she's kind of gleaned from my coaching she thought she would be able to use in helping teachers become better classroom managers and leaders in the classroom. So I'm excited for her and her new opportunity. And then my son Drew is now, you know, Drew was that kid who no one thought was going to ever accomplish much in basketball. He wasn't very tall. He wasn't very athletic, and just was determined. And, you know, that's the one thing that, you know, that's been most impressive in his life, is just that determination. And because of it, he spent 12 years playing basketball in Europe for a kid who most people didn't think was going to ever even play in college, who thought maybe because I was the coach was the only reason he played in high school. But now just finished 12 years and is in his third year as an assistant coach at Cleveland State. Then my youngest son, Cameron, who, he's had to live in that shadow, LeBron, Drew was part of the Fab Five, but LeBron and those guys, they cast a big shadow, which kind of, overshadowed kids for a lot of years. And my younger son, Cameron, who's 4 years younger, had to grow up in that time when, everything revolved around as they called themselves, the Fab Five. But Cameron has, built his own career. He, went on to play college basketball also, and was on, moved 7 different times on different staffs. And now, is the head coach at St. Ignatius High School in Cleveland, is in his second year, took his team to the Final Four. So I just want to give a shout out to my family, because, because of my wife and her contribution to them, I look at my family, and I recognize and I understand that, our story is a blessing, because you don't always have the highlights that we've been able to have, and be able to navigate through some of the life's pitfalls, and that we've been able to do it, and do it at such a high level. I got into coaching, honestly, when I was in high school. That's what I wanted to do. I was planning on going to college, playing football, and becoming a high school football coach and teaching history. And it didn't really turn out like that. I got to college at Ashland College at that time. It's now Ashland University, but way back, Steve will relate to this, back when we were graduating high school, it was Ashland College, and that didn't sit right. I was looking for a larger crowd, more people, whatever, more fun. I guess I wasn't focused as I should have been maybe on college. So I went to Ohio University, and nothing against Ohio University. It's a great place, and we did some great things, but it kind of changed things around for me. I spent 25 years in corporate America, and I'm thankful for it, because a lot of those lessons that I've used in my coaching have come from the organization and the leadership that I got during those years in corporate America, and I've been blessed to understand that time wasn't necessarily always about the sales that I was doing, but just the relationships, and how to build relationships, and how to kind of begin to view people and see people and begin to understand them. So those are important times. As far as the coaching, I laugh about it now, but I tell people I became a high school basketball. Well, really, I became a coach because I couldn't turn my son Drew into a wide receiver. That's the position I played as football. And it was, kind of a very humble beginning. I was trying to take my son around as a 7-year-old to play in the Akron Rec League, and he needed to be 8. And the first rec center we went to on the west side said, nah, he's not old enough. I said, but he's pretty good. And so I took him to another rec center, and Jerry Rowland was the director, and he said, I'll let him play as a 7-year-old under one condition. And I said, what's that? He said, you have to coach the team. And that's how it all started. What I really started to understand as that kind of grew in from one opportunity to another is that I was enjoying this coaching. You know, I was, not that I was great at it, but I was good. I was enjoying, you know, those days, watching the young people kind of develop. And, you know, it's, you know, I was, you know, the first couple of years I coached, and then my job changed and I had to give it up, but I would still be around and take my son to this travel team practice that he was going at. And I was just that dad, you know, who sat in the stands and kind of watched. And then they needed someone to rebound or someone to get out there and act like they could play defense. I was, you know, I would be that guy. And then the next year, the coach walked away. He didn't walk away. Let me say that right. He got a better job. He was going to coach at a middle school. It was no longer just traveling basketball. And he decides to take that. And the parents come to me and say, well, why don't you become the coach? So, you know, from my rec experience, I said, okay, well, let me try this AAU travel basketball experience. And I happen to know a pretty good player from the rec league, who we all know. And I brought LeBron around and we kind of just took off from there. And, you know, it was something that, you know, it was just so special because the kids were so committed and they wanted so much from this that me and a couple other gentlemen who been with me for a while, we made a commitment that way we would do this thing is that it was important for us that we live a life in front of those young men, that we would have a Christian ethic to everything that we did. We wanted them to, you know, not to be phony or fake, but we wanted them to understand, you know, that we were men, and if we made a mistake, you know, we let them know, hey, I blew it. I made a mistake. And we never wanted to, you know, to do anything in front of them that we thought would, you know, give them the wrong opinion or the wrong understanding of what manhood was about. And so if, you know, I'm driving around and, you know, I have an issue with a referee, they were watching and I saw it, especially LeBron. They were watching. How did I handle it? So I made it very clear, you know, to myself that there was something my pastor, Bishop Joey Johnson at the House of the Lord, said I can just remember saying so many times. He says, more is caught than taught. And it wasn't so much what I was saying to the kids, it's what they were seeing of me that was most important. So how like we're at a restaurant and the waitress messes up the order. How do I handle that? Am I going to blow up and, you know, become some derogatory person because she made a mistake? Or was I going to be understanding? Because they were watching and we understood that they were watching. So we tried to do it the best way. How did I treat my wife? You know, I've always, with my kids, I've always, from way back then, talked to them. I said, she's my queen. So how was I treating my queen? You know, was I showing a chivalry? Did I open a door for her? Did I, you know, help her with her coat? Did I do those kind of things that, you know, I believe that I was raised to do? And so all those things meant something. The things that we were taking for granted, some of us take for granted every day, they mean so much, especially when you're dealing with kids and young people. And you know, I was blessed to get it early on. And as this thing grew and the team became famous, and, you know, it's funny, I tell people all the time that for Dru's young life, all the way from, say, 5th grade, when he started playing to high school, I was little Dru's dad. That's how I was recognized around Akron, because Dru was such a very good player at that young age. And then once I, got to high school and LeBron's star takes off, I become, oh, that's LeBron's coach. So I've been pretty much known for a lot of my coaching career in that third person, but it was okay because it was, I understood that as what my purpose, that I could see I was having an effect on these young men, and I started to recognize and believe that that was my purpose, to help them to grow into men. And as Steve read, I truly believe that coaching is a sacred responsibility. I do. It's I guess we have so much, we can have such a great impact if we go about it and try to do it the right way. And when I say that, I'm not perfect. I guess the one thing that that's always helped me is I'm not afraid to say, hey, I blew that. I was wrong, to my players, to, and I think they've been able to live with it. And, over time, it was tough early on for me because, I'd take over for Keith Dambrot, who in 2 years, he was like 53-1. So when Keith asked me to take over the high school team, I was like, wow, this is a great opportunity. But my first response was, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to mess this thing up. I didn't think I was ready. My wife, who has more than once spoken into my life, said, how can you say no? She said, how can you say no? This is God honoring and blessing you for all those years of driving a group of guys up and down the highway. So I took the job understanding and knowing that, hey, if I win, it's because they were Keith's kids and I got the #1 player in the country. And if I lose, it's all my fault. And that first year, what do? We get all the way to the championship game and we lose. And that's when I had to grow up, because everyone said it was my fault. And how could you lose with that great team and those great players? And at first I didn't want to admit it was my fault. I wanted to, be mad and say, how can you say that? You don't know what I've done for all these boys for all these years and what I've given. And, I wanted to go into all that stuff that, honestly, at that time didn't matter. What mattered most is we lost. And the question was, how are you going to turn this thing around? Because, there was some issues. We were the first ones on the kind of ESPN. This was before social media, but as far as game of the week and playing on national TV, we were right at the beginning of that. And so I had to grow up as a coach in front of TV cameras, where a lot of coaches grow up in some small gym in anonymity. Mine was out front for everyone to see. So it was important that, hey, what are you going to do? They got one more year. How are you going to make this thing work? How are you going to handle this? Because my first, as I read the newspapers, my first thing I wanted to do was write these people and tell them all the good things that we had done over the years, but it didn't matter. What mattered most is, how are you going to turn what you did wrong into what could be done right? And I had to be honest with myself, over that time, the glitz and the glamour, we're flying and we're playing on TV, I lost the reason why I was ever involved. I forgot about helping boys grow into men. I was more concerned about winning and losing. So that loss was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life, because it grew me up. And I had to come back and sit down with those guys and tell them, you know what? I don't care where we go, how many TV cameras are in front of us anymore. This is about you. And I'm going to do what's right about you. I'm going to do this thing in a way that I believe I'm supposed to do it. And that's to use this game to teach life lessons. And there's a big lesson we got to learn from this loss. And, you know, we had talked about from the time those boys were 10 years old, winning a national championship. And we had that opportunity. And I can remember when they were young kids, I would, you know, I'm a man of faith, and I would tell them, hey, you know, you speak your reality into existence. So say it. Start telling people we're going to be national champs. And that's 10 years, 11 years old. They were going around saying that stuff. And now we had an opportunity to do it, and we failed. And how do you rebound from that? You have an opportunity. And so we you know, hey, I made sure that the guys understand, hey, this was, you know, we still want to win, but we're going to do this thing, and we're going to make the emphasis on more about growing through this adversity, and how do you handle, you know, the fame that's been thrown on us. And you know, and there was times that, you know, I wanted to go outside in my backyard and just scream, because there was no one to help me, because this was all new ground. And but you know, I'm very thankful that you know, I've had some great mentors, and one is my pastor, Bishop Joey Johnson, and you know, he, you know, just encouraged me to you know, to not let the past dictate my future. And then, you know, there was, you know, I believe, and I tell all my guys, readers are leaders. And, you know, I never met John Wooden, but I always, you know, watched him growing up and coached those teams. And I read a lot of his books, and, you know, I started to implement more of who he was into, you know, what we do every day at practice, and just to start to grow. And, you know, long story short, hey, this thing it took off. We win a national championship. We built a foundation here, and, you know, the culture has been set. And, you know, we've been blessed under my leadership to win 6 state championships, and only won 1 with LeBron. So, you know, we've done a whole lot of great things beyond that great team. But, you know, what makes it even more special for me is they keep coming back. The guys who've been in the program, they, you know, they graduate, but they stay in touch. And, you know, when the current guys in the program see a LeBron James, and he doesn't come back as much as he had early on in his career, or, you know, Romeo, Travis, my son Drew. I just got a call yesterday from a young man. His name is Jakar Sampson. He led us to a state championship in 2009. We could have won another one in 2010. But, you know, he called me yesterday. He's 7 years in the NBA. He didn't finish at St. V, but 7 years in the NBA. And, you know, so it just did some good stuff. And I can see I've kind of ran over my time, but, you know, I'm thankful. You know, what's most important to me has been when those guys come back and they say, Coach Dru, thank you for helping me grow into the man I am today.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach. know we started a few minutes later today, but I want to honor everyone who's here, and I want to honor everyone who is on the Zoom. But Coach, if we were to share a couple questions with you, is that something you could handle, or is your time short as well?
You know, I'm honored to be here. I'll answer as many questions if there are any out there. Yeah, I'm on.
Okay, then let's do this. I'll take one from this audience, and we'll take one from the Zoom audience. So anybody out here that has a pressing question? No questions. Okay. And who do we have here? You're gonna have to. Oh, Doug Hosconnect, one of our members, former president, says this. One of your favorite quotes that he loves to share is, "A teacher affects eternity, can never tell where his influence stops." And this was from Henry Adams.
I will remember that.
And thank you, honestly, Coach, for being very real today. I mean, sharing your heart with us, sharing what the journey's been like. And I don't think anybody could possibly have imagined what it was like to be in your shoes in going from a team that in LeBron's freshman and sophomore years that you guys won the state title. You step in your first year, you lose. All those questions and all those conflicting emotions. And as you said by your own words, no one really to turn to, but I think you did turn. I think you turned where you know you always turn, and you found your answers. And so thank you so much for the incredible leadership that you continue to provide for so many young Black youth here in our city. And it's wonderful to hear their stories, like about your sons, about Romeo and others, and to see the success that they're making in their lives and how they are giving back. And so thank you so much for joining us. And as we end today, we do have a drawing, and Connor, if you would come up, our raffle drawing. I just want to make one other comment. David Miller did share with us that this Thursday at 6 o'clock at the Cigar Lodge on Main Street out near Portage Lakes is a time of fellowship. And this is our first one since we've been involved in COVID for 18 months. So hopefully, guys and gals, come on out. We'll have a nice evening of relaxing, connecting, having fun, talking, whatever. So, Connor?
Thank you, Mr. President. So Coach Dru, normally we'd have you pick the raffle ticket, and I don't know if I'm worthy of serving as your proxy, but I'm going to do my best to honor you with the selection. All right. So
Great.
Tickets, guys, I'm pulling them out. Let's see here. All right. So the winning number for a total of $8 in a daily winning and an opportunity to win the rolling pot as well. 549-3886. 549-3886. We have a winner here. All right, Gina K. All right, come on down. And so we've got your $8 here, and then I'm going to have you pull a card from the deck. And if you win the Joker, you win the jackpot, which I'm not sure where that stands right now either. So see if you want to take this back, and I'll have Gina do it up here. Thank you.
Absolutely. While she's drawing her card, one last thing too, and with the happy dollars and thanking people, there was one person I inadvertently left out, and that would be Terry. Terry has just done an incredible job for us. And so Terry, thank you. You've been faithful behind the scenes and working out of your office there, and these meetings, hey, and you got a helper there.
Yeah.
There you go.
4 clubs.
4 clubs. She didn't win the jackpot today, but everyone, thank you for joining us today. Coach Dru, what a pleasure in having you with us. And And may you have another successful season and hopefully bring home another championship. And now I'm going to officially ring the bell to close our meeting. This meeting is now closed.